I wasn't planning to do a talk, so I can kind of bounce back on a few of the comments that were in the room.
Yeah.
So there are three things kind of that marked me, stood out. The first was kind of Felipe saying you gotta reject the binary and stuff. So actually to understand, it's not a coincidence that Dao is called the Dao. If you want to understand the Dao really, you should just read the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah.
Where it says in governing, don't try to control.
I actually brought it in.
You brought it, okay, open number seven, and we do a minute of Taoism. But
if you go to my Twitter, there's an illustrator.
yeah, there were also two other things. The first one was kind of you're talking about a magic pen, about this Tao is a word, a philosophy, but I don't really understand what it means technically while going into the issue. And then it was what Alicia said, which was is this just about vote on money and competition? So maybe I can just take 5-10 minutes to show the two sides. And there was this thing Felipe said, which is we don't know what is organization. And the idea of Dao was kind of trying to look at what is organization. And we can go together and we can say organization is a group of people that has a set of rules and a way of deciding on these rules to allocate resources. Very basically. And so some people kind of looked at a machine, like computer, and they're well, what is a computer in the end? It's a set of programs. So a program is, you have a logic, you encode that logic, and the logic executes itself according to if this, then do that. But before the program, there is something called an operating system. And the operating system is the way for the computer to decide how much RAM, how much hard drive memory, how much this and that am I giving to each program. So it's really like an organization. It decides to what goes what resources under what conditions. And so the idea of Aragon was to make the operating system for organizations. So a way to create an architecture of organizations, a way of self-upgrading them, and of having programs and apps, like an app store inside of it. And so this is kind of an interface of one DAO. So it's kind of the technical answer before I go on the social question. And you can see permission. So this is kind of the operating system. I can say I have a finance app, and I'll show you later. So this will be a bit occult for now.
Can I just quickly ask, is everyone aware we're talking about Aragon now? Is that clear for everyone? Okay.
Yeah, so there are different protocols basically to manage DAOs, and Aragon is one of them. So this would mean that, for example, in my finances, which holds my money or my house or whatever I have, I grant permission to a vote of 50% of the people who have this B token to execute payments. So every time somebody asks for money, it creates a vote. But I can also say, well, no, actually I'm adding a custom person, and I can say our CFO can withdraw 2% of the money without a vote. If it's more, it's a vote. I can also have what is called an oracle. So it will look at the state of the real world, and it will say, well, we have an insurance for our crops. Only if it is raining, I am allowed to take out money to pay insurance to the people who farm. And so these are different apps, and this I will start answering through the apps the social question. So token holdings is the tokens allow you to decide. It's your membership rights. So here we can see that everyone has 14%. So this B token actually has equal membership. Every person has an equal, and it can be one token, one person, or 20 tokens per person. And you can say, is it transferable? So can I send my reputation or my shares to someone else? Yes, it can also be no. And then you have something called the honey. So this is a thing called One Hive. They're one of the DAOs in Aragon who is helping us build Aragon. And they're a group of developers and social researchers who are trying to develop apps. And what they did is that they self-organized as a DAO to receive the payments from Aragon to develop this. So it's kind of recursive. And they said, okay, for our membership, our votes of who will vote, who comes in, it's in the B token, where it's one member, one vote. So it's a guild where everyone who is already in the guild has one vote and can decide who gets in, who gets kicked out, what are the rules for that. But to kind of decide, well, what next project should we take on? How much should each person get paid bonus? They decide on what is called the honey, which is, and I need to take my charger because it's not looking. So to share the money, they are using a non-equal system. where they basically all sell votes on each other. I'll show you that right now. So for example, this is like vote, so it's kind of like the DAO-like interface, where you see like, I can see which app, is this like a finance app, is this a passed vote, a rejected vote. I created a payment for Luke, so I can mark one of the addresses as a person, and then inside I can vote yes or no. This is a passed vote, so I can't. But I can use something like dot voting. Does everyone know what is dot voting here? No? So it's basically like I give you, we'll decide, for example, like what topics we're going to talk about today. We all have like 4 dots and we all put like dots, right? So this is the same. They decide how much money every person is going to get, or even like just a social recognition with a dot vote. So they go here and everyone can allocate a number of dots. And then automatically what the smart contract is going to do is that you say, for example, weekly there is, I don't know, $500. It's going to automatically split the payments according to each person voting on each other, averaging out everyone, either according to like one person, one weight, or according to like how much reputation they have. And you can also, for example, here's an open one. I can also comment. So, well, here I didn't have any rep, but basically we'd be able to have a comment thread under here, and everyone could say, oh, I think like Gabi here, he made awesome work, so we should pay him more. So the whole idea of Aragon is to have this like app center, and I can configure each of these apps, like plugging them into each other. So I can say like, I have a vote to update the address book, which is like giving an address a name, or I can control code. So we created this thing called Pando, which is like a GitHub, but where every piece of code or algorithm is actually controlled by a DAO, by people who coded it, or who are supposed to get a UBI from it, instead of like Google, where it's like the top 2 shareholders that have everything. And I'm gonna go now that you understand maybe is it clear, like technically kind of system? Yeah.
The app center, is that meant to, let's say, if I would use Aragon, my group, could I then use the app center to use apps that are convenient to our group?
Exactly. So basically anyone can go. I can also, after this, like help you create an organization, explain to you, just like try to keep short, but you create like a basically bare-bones organization that only has votings and token and finance. And then according to the App Store, you can install apps, you can upgrade. If there's a new version of the app that came, maybe the person who coded the app put like a bug, or there's a new way of doing things and you want to keep to the old way. And so you kind of need the DAO to vote on like upgrading itself. So it's kind of like an app store, but instead of just clicking on the phone and putting my password, the password is like a vote of the DAO, or some manager of the apps. Like you can configure this in a really bespoke way. Yes, well.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to ask it because let's say if I would have, I work for Deliveroo, it's a food delivery service. Would that also mean that if I would contact restaurants as partners, would they be able to use Aragon, or is it something that only stays within, let's say, the delivery group itself?
No, it's supposed to be very flexible. So like the idea is flexible governance, so you can have flexible rules, flexible apps. You can kind of decide on the architecture that is best for your use case. So it can be like a group of self-driving cars, it can be like people delivering, it can be a cooperative, it can be a group of activists who want to manage their money without having a bank because they're doing activity that is politically reprehensible, or
yeah, no, I'm just it's very practical. With the Deliveroo app, you work with restaurants and you work with clients, and so you got three parties.
yes.
So my question is, would Aragon in this particular case be applicable to share with clients, restaurants, and
Yes, I mean, I think there would be different ways of doing this case, but the most kind of intuitive one is that Deliveroo would become a DAO itself, and it would be paid, like clients would, when they pass an order, they would pay, for example, into the finance app, or they would have like a separate app that automatically pays into the DAO. Of course, they will not see this, this kind of like the back end. And people, like deliverers, would get paid by the DAO according to...
I see it's this one that you're looking is on Rinkeby. But
Yes.
you guys have mainnet deployment already.
We have mainnet deployment for all of Aragon, but some of these apps are not on the mainnet yet. They will come in like a couple months. So dot voting, for example, and allocations will probably come in the next month. And you have, for example, something called agent, and the agent allows the DAO to interact with any other app. So you can like, have the DAO manage like a lending account, or it can manage a delivery platform. So you can plug in the app and make it like connected to the DAO. Or you have like Espresso, which is like a Google Drive, but completely decentralized and controlled by the organization. So
How much technical skill do you have to connect like the agents to something?
For now, well, actually, I think next week we're going to be releasing a UI. So there would be something on the left, like an app, which you would configure. For now, it's with a command line interface because it's a relatively new thing. Yes.
Can you maybe say a bit about how it was connected to the financial planning of an organization? So you have a certain amount of money, right?
Sure.
You have amounts of money you spend on a regular basis, or maybe on an irregular basis. So you need to consider the money you have for making all these decisions. So yeah.
Exactly. So you're able, for example, in the finance app, just to see like the holdings, so how much money is in there. But you also have, you see the App Center, this payroll app that's coming out, and you can say like, I'm gonna pay the contributors or the suppliers or whoever is interacting with the DAO. You can, like, for example, say I'm gonna pay them X amount of dollars per month, but actually they get paid every second on the blockchain. They can decide at any time to be paid, so it's like a much more granular thing. You can create these allocations, so like the dot voting is actually like I vote, with these percentages. They get 25%, I get 30%, you get 10%. But what money, like what is the money coming from, right? It's these allocations. So like I can say I put a balance of 5 ETH, and I can decide is it one time it's paying the people dividing, or is it every month taking $5 out of the common pot? So you can make like a planning and finance, and for now we don't have yet like a software that makes like financial projections for you, but it would be really useful in the future, like taking the data from all of these separate apps and showing you like, okay, in 2 months if you continue like this, the DAO won't have money. So yeah, that's and yeah, I wanted to time. So I just wanted to talk very fast about like the question of like, is it all about money and stuff? So some of these apps are going to be like non-traditional voting. So here's like 50% vote, but you can say like we're doing consensus voting. So except if somebody doesn't have like a strong opposition, it passes. Or you have what is called quadratic voting, where you have like 100 votes, and if you feel very strongly about an issue, you can put 3 votes, but it costs you 9, like the square. If you feel very weak, you can put like only 1. So this reduces the influence of people with a lot of reputation, a lot of money. And we also
just a question from the room.
Yes.
So in Germany you call it like böhmische Dörfer when you really don't understand like anything. So I would say I understood like 2 to 5% of what you were saying, although my English is quite solid, and I understood the thing with the dots. So some sort of magical software allows me to put dots somewhere, like if I want to vote on something.
It allows you to vote without having somebody counting the votes, which is the problem normally.
Yeah.
And you can apply it to anything. You can apply it to, how should we prioritize
Sure.
deliverables.
I mean, that's like one contract, or
Yes.
like a proportion, in a team.
Yes.
Or okay.
Yeah. Are there any more questions? Because I think I'm out of time.
For me, maybe just a simple one,
Okay.
because I only very familiar with Lumia, which is just a very, very primordial prototype of this much advanced and not having co-budget, so all in one, so it's great. And so how you get access? You also pay as like a monthly fee to get access to that?
So for now, everything that you use here is a free use. The only thing you will pay is the cost of like the blockchain. So kind of like how you use internet, you pay for megabytes. But there is going to be some services of subscription. So we're also developing the first, Aragon is supposed to be the first digital jurisdiction. So the problem is a smart contract can solve objective problems. So like, did it rain today, yesterday? Can you be paid $5? Who voted with the identity? But it can solve subjective issues. So say, we vote together. Our organization has an onboarding procedure, which is this. And what if there was a vote, but it didn't follow the procedure? Or, you know, I'm a DAO, we're a group of DAOs, and we're talking with another DAO, and the other DAO didn't, you know, deliver the good we paid for. There's a problem, right? You can't go to a judge and say, oh, look, this computer program, they can catch that, you know. So basically, they are creating an Aragon court, and the court is going to be like an own judicial system for. It's very long to go into the technical side of that, but it's basically going to be a jurisdiction for DAOs. And the model we're thinking about is making organizations pay like a subscription fee. So DAO would pay $5 a month, and it will be able to like, if it has disputes, go to this court and stuff.
Jumping in. Thanks so much, Daniel.